Hi, it's Big Bird 130 here, or Steve as people like to call me. Did I give you an update on where I am with the Land Rover? Hopefully there'll be some more videos coming more regularly about the Land Rover, as I'm intending to do a lot more work on it. I'd like to get it out on the road this year. There's a particular trip that I want to do in October, I think it is, and I'd like to have it on the road by then. So there's a bit of work to be done for that to be the case. So what I've done, I did a bit of work on it yesterday, and there's a few things that have been done with it. I had a little bit more of a play with the seat belts, and you'll see here I've got the inertia of the lap sash in, but what I don't have is a buckle down here for that belt. The buckle that you see there is the center belt buckle, center belt there, which runs through. Now I don't know if you can see it down there where the light's shining. There's a hole, and that hole is where the buckle should go for the lap sash belt. Unfortunately, the buckles that come with the lap sash belt won't fit in between this bar along here and the bolt hole that is there. So what I think I'm going to do, because I can get the lap belts in on those bolts, I might order enough lap belts for each of the seats and just use the buckles from those lap belts, unless I can get the buckles separately. I haven't tried that yet, so I'm going to see if I can get the buckles separately. And I hope that makes sense, because it's maybe if I got a buckle and showed you. Hang on with me a minute, I'll go and get a buckle. So I did, while I was at it, start the Land Rover yesterday. I had the exhaust pipe hanging on the ground. Wasn't a lot of help. So I've just wired that up off the ground so that if I need to move it I can, but if I went to move it I'd have to tow it. Unfortunately the clutch is no good, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But you see down here, these are the buckles. As you see down there, these are the buckles that they came with, and I can't put that down there. I've already tried to bend one of these so that it's bent at right angles, and it broke. So I can't really retrofit them in any way into the car, which is a bit of a shame. Anyway, what can you do? So the job for today is the master cylinder. The master cylinder is, I think, pretty gone. I put my foot on the clutch yesterday, and first of all it was jammed. Then when I got it free with a bit of force, it went straight to the floor. I checked this and it had no fluid in it. But worst of all, I think there's been water in there, and it's got all sorts of corrosion and crystals and you name it in there. So what I think I'm going to do is replace that master cylinder. I feel a lot better about it if it was replaced. And seeing I'm doing the master cylinder, I'm figuring I may as well get down underneath and do the slave cylinder as well. They're not expensive for an aftermarket part. So really it pays probably to do it. I do it once now. I probably won't have to do it for another 5 years or something like that. So if I get it done, it'll be done. The brakes are good, so there's been no problem with the brakes. It's just the clutch master cylinder. And the clutch itself is a bit of a problem, and I don't know where I'll go with the clutch. At the moment it sticks. It sticks when you start the car. Once you've got it free, it's fine. It'll work as a normal clutch. It's when I've been sitting for a long period of time, it sticks to the I'm assuming the pressure plate. So what you do is you start it in gear and then push the clutch in, and it frees the clutch up. And then you can operate the clutch normally. It doesn't grind gears or anything. It seems to work all right. So At this stage, I'm not intending to change the clutch. I don't really want to, but if it has to be done, then it has to be done. So that's that job. So there's a clutch and its various workings that need a bit of TLC. The fuel pump in this is a bit of a question. You might notice over here, I had the seat down so you wouldn't have seen it, but if I lift this seat up, you see I've got this panel out. It's because under here, or under here I should say, is where the petrol pump is. Now I can't get to it directly easily because under each of these seats here there is a petrol tank. So it's got two auxiliary tanks, as well as the tank in the back, and it's a bit difficult to get to the petrol pump. I think I'll have to do it from underneath. I'm not sure. I don't really want to get into pulling tanks out and stuff to do it. I think I'll be able to get to it all right, but it's barely working, the petrol pump. But it is working, but I don't trust it. It's one of these SU fuel pumps, which actually has two fuel pumps on it, and you can choose one or the other to operate. It's got the switch for two pumps. One of them's not working and the other one's barely working, but it is pumping fuel. And how I can tell you that is because when I started this car yesterday to give it a bit of a run to see if I could still start it, there's fuel absolutely pissing out of the carburetor down there. So that stinks of an O-ring that's gone, and so it's leaking through from the float chamber of the carburetor. So that's another job that has to be done. It either has to be taken off and I recondition it myself, although I don't feel all that confident about doing it. So I might go and get a specialist carburetor mechanic to actually pull it apart and restore it. Gasket kits are not that expensive for this carburetor. I think the rebuild kits with all the jets and everything are a lot more expensive. But it's a relatively common carburetor. It's fitted on many different vehicles. It's a Zenith 175 CD2S, I think is the type of carburetor. So a pretty common one. It's on Jaguars and on V8 Range Rovers and things like that. So it's around. I think I told you I replaced the water pump. Hello. Does that look like water down there to you? Is it leaking slightly? It does look like water, doesn't it? Bugger, if that's the case. I thought I'd sealed that up. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens with that. Hopefully that's not leaking. Or hopefully it's condensation. It hasn't lost any fluid according to when I've run it. And I couldn't see anything leaking out of it when I was running it. So I hope it's not a leaky. It's got an O-ring in there that's supposed to stop it leak. And I put it in with silicon lubricant. So it should be right. So hopefully that's not water and that's leftover silicon lubricant that's sitting down there. I'll have to get down and have a sniff of it. So there you go. So what I'll do is I'll probably get onto this, check back with you when I'm a bit further forward with pulling it apart, and we'll go from there. Anyway, I'll speak to you soon. So I've run into my first problem, which is common with working on old cars. See that bolt down there? There's two of them. There's one on the back side of that master cylinder and one on this front side here. They are absolutely rusted on. I've hit them with penetrating oil. As you can see, I've almost rounded this nut, and that wasn't a very good sign. Anyway, I'm letting that penetration oil seep in. I don't know how long I'll leave it for. I'm toying with the idea of taking the whole pedal box out and working with it on the bench rather than trying to get into it here in the car. It might be, for sake of time, it might be better to just take the whole pedal out and do that. I didn't really want to do that because according to the manual, you can do it without taking the pedal back out on the right-hand side drive models. Anyway, that's where we are at the moment. Let me think about it over a cup of coffee and I'll come back to you. Well, as I said, I went up and had a coffee and spent a bit more time upstairs than I thought I would with that coffee. But I did go and have a look at a few YouTube videos to see, what the opinion of the general YouTube community was about Series 3 clutch master cylinders and removing them. Seems to be that the best option is to take the pedal box out and work with it on the bench. So that's what I'm going to do. I've penetrating oil all the bolts that run through the firewall to the box. I need to remove because I've got a station wagon, it's got a little lining in it, so I'm going to have to remove the lining before I can get to the pedal box to actually undo the nuts. And unfortunately, I don't have a fine enough screwdriver for removing that yet. My last one broke, so I'm going to have to do a trip down to the tool shop to go and get some new screwdrivers. But, I'll be working on it tomorrow, I think. I'll make an attempt to get the pedal box out and I'll show you that when I get it out of the car. Maybe I'll show you the process of getting it out. Not too sure. But anyway, that's where we are at the present time. I'm not sure whether I'll post this video tonight or just add tomorrow's to it rather than post it in one go. You'll know because it'll be up there, won't it? So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will catch you in another one.